2008 Rugby League centenary season in Australia. So many great moments, so many great matches, so many great personalities. A celebration of the game's past, its present and its future. Hello, I'm Matthew Johnson. I'm here at Sydney's newly named ANZ Stadium for the season preview to 2008. Brought to you by the Daily Telegraph, Channel 9 and Harvey Norman. Now I'm going to be joined by Laurie Daley to talk about your team's chances in 2008. We're going to talk to some of the players, some personalities and one very special guest. But first of all, let's go to Andrew Voss to talk about Rugby League's first 100 years in Australia.
We now ask for your support for the formation of a body which will govern the new game. A game that I believe in the future will become the greatest of them all. Gentlemen.
A recreation of the events of August 8, 1907, the night Rugby League in Australia was born. The location was Bateman's Hotel in Sydney. Names like James Giltinan, Henry Hoyle, Victor Trumper and Daley Messenger were truly the game's pioneers.
We started all this for the players, but as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be the people's game too. And I hope it's that way in 100 years' time.
It would be April 20 the next year when the first competition kicked off here at Birchgrove Oval, just a short boat trip over from the heart of the city. Now, newspaper reports from the time tell us it was a sunny day. It was a crowd of just over 3,000 to see what was a double-header. Balmain defeated Western Suburbs 24-0 and South Sydney accounted for North Sydney in a close one, 11-7. Interesting point from that first day, the reserve grade matches on this huge area that is Birchgrove Oval were played at the same time as first grade. That's right, matches side by side. Now, joining those four clubs in the first year of the New South Wales Rugby League competition were Eastern Suburbs, Newtown, Glebe, Cumberland and aside from Newcastle. Oh, how things have swapped and changed since 1908. Over 100 seasons, clubs have come and gone. There's been a production line of great players, changes to the rules and the way the game is played, enough sensational moments, enough controversy both on and off the field to fill, well, 100 books. Each club, every player, every match. All part of history and 100 years of rugby league.
Containing 11 internationals in their 13, St George drive home every advantage. And the try is on the way. Quick passing from Draper to Gasnier to Smith, who goes over in the corner.
For 11 seasons in that 100 years, the St George Dragons compiled a record of grand final wins that will never be broken. Beginning 1956 and ending with an 11th straight title in 1966, the St George Club were amazing. Perhaps the most memorable of all wins was in 1963 on a muddy SCG. The day photographer John O'Grady snapped the famous shot of Norm Provan embracing Arthur Summons. The most successful club over 100 years, however, hasn't been the Dragons. That honour belongs to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Red and Greens have won 20 titles, the last of which was in 1971.
Sends to Coote with McCarthy in support on the inside. He takes the reverse pass and dashes 20 yards to touchdown between the posts.
So many matches in 100 years. Grand final moments alone fill so much of our memories. Deciders, which only became mandatory in our game in 1954, have created legends.
And Gearin is over. Unbelievable. God gets it. Rosie Simmons. That's it. Inside for Elba. Elba will score. Elba will score. Newcastle have won the grand final.
Creation of legends to legendary tales, and many have come from kangaroo tours. Australian colours proudly worn abroad. 1963, one of the greatest kangaroo sides of all time, blitzed their arch rivals Great Britain. A test that was to become known as the Swinton Massacre.
And there goes the whistle, but down with a delighted Australians on our right. Very, very happy on our right.
For more than 2 decades now, Australia has reigned supreme. But that wasn't always the case.
In a 35-yard dash to score Great Britain's fifth try, assuring them victory and the Ashes.
Still on representative football, and there has always been an intense rivalry between New South Wales and Queensland. Pre-1980, though, it was more often than not New South Wales handing out the punishment. That all changed with the introduction of State of Origin. And for the last 28 years, the Interstate Series has become a real jewel in the crown.
the big fella, gets the pass on. Coyne goes for the corner. Get to the right knife and it's
So am I to assume that you were still taking drugs when your playing days? I mean, does it go back that far?
Yeah,
How far?
probably 10 years.
Rugby league has endured many a scandal through 100 years. It has to be said that the game has copped more than its share of black eyes. But without fail, it always finds a way to bounce back. It even survived a revolution in 1995, which led to 2 competitions by 1997. Since 1998, it's been the National Rugby League. 10 years. In that time, amazingly, 7 clubs have tasted premiership success. From that clandestine pub meeting in 1907 to the glitz that is rugby league today. An extraordinary 100 years. And here's to 100 more.
Yeah, thanks, Vossy. Good on you, mate. And I'm joined out here at ANZ Stadium with Laurie Daley. Laurie, welcome to Channel 9, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate. Really looking forward to the season ahead.
Mate, what about the game? You know, looking back at some of the great moments, had a lot of great games, a lot of great characters.
Well, it's an exciting time, especially being the 100th year of our great game. Been privy, I suppose, to be a part of it, as yourself. But so many characters, one in particular, my favourite, and your favourite, I'm assuming, Big Reggie Reagan.
Yeah, Reggie, Tom Rudonikus, it goes on and on. Got a great history of rugby. Really looking forward to this year. A club that has probably got a bigger history as any club in the NRL are the Dragons. And we're going to start with that club for the 2008 preview.
Cooper scores. Soward puts it high in the air to the wing of Robertson. Here comes Gasnier. Terrific take from Mark Gasnier.
Laurie, the Dragons. 2 years ago, very strong lineup, one of the strongest in the NRL. But the last couple of years have had to dismantle for whatever reasons. What do you think about them?
Oh, look, they always set themselves high standards, and those standards haven't been achieved over the last couple of years. I think you can put down their 2007 failure to the lack of experienced players on the field. They suffered some cruel injury blows to Dean Young and Mark Gasnier, and if those players were on the field, I think they would have won an extra 3 or 4 games and qualified for the 2007 final series. A lot of expectation comes with playing at the Dragons. I think they're capable of playing in the finals this series, but I think they need to have their best possible team on the park.
Well, let's have a look at what could be possibly their best lineup. And look, depth is a problem, but it's clear to see there that they get their best side on the park, they're going to be a handful. They picked up Reynoldsson, who's going to be in the back row. Soward's a great pickup. He's got a lot of composure. And the Morris brothers, fantastic players.
Well, the Morris brothers give them that unpredictability, and they've got probably 2 of the best centres in the game in Cooper and Gasnier. So they've got plenty of strike all over the park. The big question mark on the Dragons has always been the physicality of their forwards, whether they can really match the hard packs in this competition. They've been out-muscled at times, but one thing I do know about the Dragons is that they want to play a good brand of football this year, use their skills, and if they can do that, they think they'll be highly competitive. Now, I went out in the off-season and spoke to their coach, Nathan Brown, who's entering his 6th season as the head coach, and I asked him how have things changed in that time.
Probably big turnover in players, I suppose. Lots to be the one big change, and obviously from a coaching point of view, I think as a coach you always evolve from your first year to whether you're Wayne Bennett, who's been going for 100 years, or any other coaching. Any year you evolve and you always look to improve in some areas. In my first year of coaching, we had a big turnover of people, I suppose, and that's when Dean Young and Benny Cray and Ashton Sims and a lot of those, Wes Nagramas, all those guys came through, and in that year we had a lot of games that were close games that we weren't quite good enough to win, and we had our share of injuries that year as well, and then our next year was a good year, and I think this young group of players is better than our last young group of players.
Well, you struggled in the halves last year. Are you a lot more confident that you'll have the right pairing to get the job done? And you look as though you've got a lot more depth in those positions this year.
Much more depth there, obviously. Rangy Chase came on, and I know he's a bit of a favourite of yours, Loz, because he definitely creates opportunity. Obviously, Jamie Soward then came to the club mid-year, gives us an option, and Benny Hornby can play there as well.
Melbourne Storm been by far and away the best team in the competition the last 2 seasons. How far away are the Dragons from reaching their standards?
Oh, well, yeah, basically we've set our training and based our standards on trying to catch Melbourne, because, as you said, Loz, I think Melbourne were there, and I think the next 8 sides, 10 sides aren't really that far from each other. Manly had a great year, and they were the second best team in the comp last year, but I still didn't think they were by far and away where Melbourne were, and that probably came out on grand final day.
Well, I think last year we were 4 games off 4th, so we've obviously got to pick up a few games there, and to get to them, you've obviously just got to keep improving every week and be consistent like they are. And we're confident that we go into this year, fit and healthy, that we'll be right up there.
What about Dean Young? How's he progressing at the moment? Because he's sustained a couple of serious knee problems.
Yeah, he's obviously had a couple of tough years, but like you said, he's definitely an important part of our side. You'll see when he played last year, we won, I think, 2 out of those 3 games. So he's very important and he's on track. So we're hopeful, and he's hopeful that he'll be back for round 1. So that's something the club's looking forward to.
Yeah, fingers crossed this year for Dean Young. Now, what we're going to do for this DVD, we're going to gather all the information on your side, put it into a computer, and it's going to give us a predicted finish. Let's see what the computer thinks about the Dragons' chances. Well, it's predicted 13th, Laurie. Your thoughts?
Totally disagree, Matty. I think that the Dragons should be able to finish in the top 8 this year. You look at their roster, I think it's as good as anyone's. As long as they continue to work hard and put their best players on the paddock, I think a top 8 berth is reckoning.
Yeah, I think that might be a handful. Right, we're going to go from a side with a lot of history now to the new boys, or the newest boys in the NRL, and that's the Gold Coast Titans.
Tom Daley is hit hard by the Frankie. Now for Scotty Prince. Look at the footwork. Look at the footwork. Yes. Here's Rogers down the left side. Rogers has got one to beat. He's got Peterson inside. He's turned off the turbo.
Righto, Loz, the Titans, they were in it for a long way last year, just missed out on the 8. What do you think of their chances?
I think they've got a stronger squad this year than what they had last season. I think the key, of course, to any side is their depth, but also the Titans last year lost their key players. They lost LaFranchi, Prince and Luke Bailey for an extended period of time, just when they were starting to gain momentum leading into the final, so that really cooled their chances. I think that they're capable of making the 8, but I just get a feeling, they may come up short again.
Let's have a look at a possible lineup there, and as you touched on, LaFranchi is one of the best back rowers in the competition. Fantastic halfback in Scotty Prince. Preston Campbell at the back, very important, Laurie, this year.
I think Preston needs to find a home, Matty. I think that we've seen him play some great football in the halves. We've also seen him play some good football in the fullback position. We just need to see him settle in a position. Yeah. I think that Preston plays his best when he feels comfortable. He knows what his role within the team structure is. So I think there needs to be a spot there. Hopefully he'll grab that fullback position, and if he can do that, I see him bobbing up in the middle of the field, causing all sorts of trouble for all the opposition teams.
Righto, let's have a look at what the computer thinks of the Titans. Yeah, it might be right. In a season, Laurie, I think the difference between 5th and 6th and the bottom sides is going to be minimal. There's going to be a lot of sides stuck in that in a log jam in the middle.
Yeah, I think you're right, Matty. I think the key for the Titans, though, is to get away to a good start. We know they're playing at a new stadium. They need to win their first 3 or 4 games at home to build momentum.
Our Classic Games countdown continues now with one of the most memorable club matches witnessed in the last 10 years. Reigning premiers, the Brisbane Broncos, travel to Newcastle to take on Paul Harrigan's Newcastle Knights.
As Andrew Johns prepares...
2 penalty goals from Andrew Johns gave the home side the lead, but shortly before half-time, the Broncos jumped in front with back-to-back tries.
And up they go. It came back OK off Brisbane for Hancock. Hancock is strong. Can he get it down? Down they go. Grant is standing on top of it. He's going to give a try.
Midway through the second half, the Knights have managed to draw the scores back to level. But with their star halfback, Andrew Johns, suffering concussion, how soft is he? It was going to be tough to remain in the contest. But Knights captain Paul Harrigan had no intention of letting this one slip away. His charges into the Broncos' big men sent defenders backwards, and his big hit on Shane Webke echoed around Marathon Stadium.
Oh, a gasser.
The Newcastle Knights lifted around their leader and snatched back the lead with a try out wide.
Albert, he's over!
But the Broncos weren't finished and they showed their class, levelling the scores with 10 minutes remaining.
Gets a pass away. That's Luke Priddis, and Priddis is all the way for Brisbane.
But the Big Chiefs' man of the match performance inspired his team to lift again. A field goal the difference as Newcastle took the match 19 points to 18.
Matthew Johns has landed the drop goal.
Yeah, great game that one, and a great field goal at the end by Brad Pitt.
I thought it was more Dudley Moore.
Well, a little bloke off Fantasy Island tattoo.
The plane, boss, the plane.
That's him. There it goes. Stavrone's at Stadium. Flying a little bit low. Now, last year, a traumatic one for the Newcastle Knights, one they want to forget. How are they going to go in 2008?
Great play, Newcastle. Good step. Great time. Oh, good try.
Puts it over beautifully. It's taken by Boona. Look at the pace. Look at the pace. Oh!
Mullen went straight through. Reynolds back on the inside. He's a genius, Jared Mullen.
Laurie, I don't know. I don't know how the Knights are going to go. I think if you spoke about the Titans, need to get off to a flyer. Same thing for the Knights. They've got to get off to a good start.
They're under more pressure than any other team in the competition because they expect results.
Yep.
They've got a passionate group of supporters up there. They went through plenty last year. They won the wooden spoon. There was a new coach. He was under pressure, swept a broom through the whole place, came with his own style. 12 months down the track, they need results. They need wins. If they don't get wins early in the season, I can see it turning into a terrible season for the Newcastle Knights and possibly even another wooden spoon.
Well, let's look at a possible lineup for the Newcastle Knights. And look, it's a good-looking side, a lot of experience. You've got a quality in Gidley. You've got McDougall, Nguama, who'll be a good buy, Mullen, Walsh. Ben Cross could be buy of the season. Badiris, we all know his qualities. Depth, a problem. They've got to avoid injuries.
I think you're right, Matty. I think that Newcastle Knights need their best players on the paddock, as do most of the clubs in the competition, but more so Newcastle. I like the look of their forward pack, given that Badiris at stages last year was out there on his own. He didn't really have a lot of size. But I think Ben Cross, you're right, will prove to be one of the best buys of the season. He's a professional player. He brings with him a premiership. And the young blokes will certainly feed off his energy and enthusiasm. So I see that being a major positive for the club. I think that Jared Mullen showed us last year what he's capable of. He played Origin, so a lot more responsibility on the halves, young Luke Walsh and Jared Mullen. Kurt Gidley just established himself in that test team as a utility player, filling the #1 shirt for the Newcastle Knights. I think if their best players play well, they can get off the bottom of the table. But I'm still not quite sure whether the chemistry's right up there in Newcastle yet.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous what the computer's going to say. Let's have a look. Yeah, I don't know about that. Look, Laurie, I'm with you. I think if they get off to a bad start, confidence can drop and things could get ugly. But I think there's enough quality in the side to at least get mid-table.
Yeah, see, you're probably right, but they're still... I don't know whether they're a happy club. You still keep hearing rumours about, you know, there's dissension in the camp. The senior players are still, you know, a bit concerned about the coaching styles of Brian Smith. So whether they're rumour or whether it's fact, I think what they need to do is just put that all to bed and just go out there and try and win games early. A winning club is a happy club. A losing culture up there in Newcastle is not acceptable. And... you know, someone's head will go at some stage if they don't get winning results.
Right, from the coalfields at Newcastle, let's go across the Tasman to the Warriors.
Good hit. Stephen Price. Oh, yeah. This is why he came across the Tasman. McKinnon. Oh, what a try.
Well, Loz, yeah, the Warriors, they've got all the attributes to, you know, they play a final-style football. What do you think of their chances?
I think that they are a team that can improve. I just don't know whether they've improved a great deal in far as their mental capabilities. The Warriors over the last few seasons have been one of these teams that on their day, they can beat anyone. But then all of a sudden you start to get wrapped up in their performances and they come up against teams they're expected to beat and they let you down. And I can still see that happening. I think they've got, you know, a good core group of leaders in their team, in particular Stephen Price and Ruben Wiki have been outstanding buys for them. But I still think the key to their destiny is their halves, Witt and Ravelli.
And that worries me a little bit. If you look at their possible lineup there, they've got some quality all around the halves. McKinnon last year was sensational. Tate's going to be a very good buy for them. Great pack of forwards. The halves, particularly Ravelli, I think halfback, you know, at the important part of the control the destiny of his side. He needs to step up and find another level.
Well, you know more than anyone, when you have entries inside the opposition 20-metre zone, you need to make the most of them. In particular with the kicking game, if you're kicking late in the tackle count, you've got to get high note finishes, and that wasn't the case with the Warriors last year. Both those players spent a bit of time in reserve grade, and I think that was one of the reasons, because their kicking game was letting the team down. So I think that they need to get that right. They need to come up with better decisions. If they can do that, they've got no doubt that they've got quality all around. You touched on Wade McKinnon, one of the form fullbacks of the competition. I think we're so lucky at the moment. We're blessed with so many great fullbacks.
So many fullbacks around, not so many 5'8" and inside backs, so many fullbacks. Try to work that out. Let's see what the computer says. Yeah, well, fifth. I think that's pretty accurate. I think they're going to be thereabouts, Laurie.
Yeah, well, last year they finished fourth. I think that this year they're capable of finishing in the top four. They win a lot of their games at home, and they're quite difficult to beat over there. They just need to win a few more games in Australia and transfer their form from home to away. If they can do that, I think they'll finish around the money.
Ugly. Hold on, here I
A side that I think will finish around the money, the Parramatta Reels. Let's look at their chances.
Intercept for Smith. He's over the line and he's put it down. Third. He's over the line. He scores. In out away. Here goes Grove down the right side. Oh, he sprints away.
Got a good side, Loz. I think they're going to take a lot of stopping. A young side. I think they're going to be better from last year. Some great young players. Haynes, sensational. Fletty Mateo. I'm pretty excited about their chances.
I'm like you. I think that they have got plenty of strike, and I think in today's competition with the defences being so good, you need to be able to crack them. And I think Parramatta have found ways through those players that you mentioned to be able to score tries. I think they responded to Michael Hagan's style of coaching, a more relaxed way of coaching. They fell one game short. Could have beaten Melbourne Storm down there at the Telstra Dome. So if they improve, I'm sure that they are a side that will certainly challenge.
Let's look at the lineup here and some great players. Like Burt missed the back half of the season. He's an attribute. Jared Hayne, brilliant. Inu, you look at Nathan Hindmarsh. He's a player who's going to benefit from the reduction of the interchange. On a minus, no Tamana Tahu, a player you just can't replace.
No, you can't. He was in exceptional form last year. Probably the form centre of the game. But having said that, Inu and Jared Hayne, at some stage, I'm sure will form a centre combination. And I think that in itself is exciting for all Parramatta fans and the Parramatta players. Look, I spoke to a couple of Parramatta players early in the season, but I also caught up with their coach, Michael Hagan.
Smith, face ball over to Lima. Then he's thrust it down for Smith. Here they come again. And Matthew King gets a double.
2007 fell 2 games short. Gives you confidence leading into the 2008 season?
Yeah, I think it will. I think we finished the year pretty well. I think the last sort of 6 or 8 games, we had everyone playing some really good footy and playing with a lot of confidence. We came up a game short, I guess, in the end against Melbourne in a game that I thought we played very well in, and they were the best team and deserving winners last year. But I think we've got a tremendous group of players. We've retained nearly everybody apart from the obvious. Tamana Tahu, who's moved on, will be a big loss. PJ Marsh has gone to Brisbane. Ian Hindmarsh, who was great for us, has retired, but we think we've got some good young players that can come in and get the job done next year. And I think blokes like Jared Hayne and Christian Inu and Fletty Mateo, they'll be better again for what they did last year.
What about the changes to the interchange rule, moving from 12 down to 10? Will that suit your guys?
It'll be a challenge for a couple of our players, I think, in terms of the amount of minutes they need to play. Fui, I think, was certainly in a lot better shape last year, was playing more minutes, but he'll need to be mindful of that. Maybe a Mark Riddell who needs to play more minutes because PJ Marsh is not here. He needs to probably apply himself a bit more in the next 6 or 8 weeks.
Haig spoke to me, before we started training about, the possibility of me playing a lot more minutes, and just the fact that there was an opportunity there now to play more minutes, and pretty much put the ball in my court to see if I'll get myself in that condition to be able to play the minutes. So, yeah, so far so good.
Well, you played a lot of minutes last year, but a lot of those minutes in your second stint in particular were coming on in the back row. Is that out of the equation now? Is it just full steam ahead and playing in the 9 jersey for the majority of the season?
Yeah, I'd say so. We haven't really spoken about back row too much. In the ball work we've done so far, I've still done a little bit of work in the back row, but pretty much most of it's been based at hooker. I suppose more or less it's probably going to depend on the 2 young hookers we've got at the club and whether they come through or not. And that'll probably have a bearing on where I play at hooker or at back row.
One of the most exciting aspects of going into 2008 is the prospect of working with Andrew Johns. Now, you've had a couple of sessions with him so far. How's that been?
Yeah, I'm pretty good mates with Andrew, but still to work with him, it's such a buzz. I think everyone knows the aura and respect he has throughout the league, through what he done with his career, and to have the opportunity to work with him, it's just amazing. And I think I said to some of the young guys, I've been playing for a long time and I've learnt so much already in the short space of time we've worked with him. So for those guys to get the opportunity to work with him from such a young age is a huge boost for them. And I think right throughout the club, everyone's very excited of having him on board, and looking forward to, as the season progresses, Joey having more and more impact on how we play and the game plans we use.
Is there one particular area that you'd like to actually sit down and go, well, that's what I need to improve, and that's where I'm going to suck all this information out of him?
I think one thing I've found with the session so far with Andrew is everything he does, there's a reason behind it and a method behind it, and reminds me so much of when you hear Shane Warne talk about how he bowls, he sets things up for the big delivery, and that's similar to Joey. He's every play that he does, every ball he puts on is working towards a certain goal or a certain thing he's looking to put on, and I think that's what he's looking to get out of us, a lot more control and a lot more composure, and certainly a lot more polish on the end of our sets.
He makes some interesting remarks here, comparing Andrew Johns to Shane Warne. Couldn't agree more.
Oh dear, you're getting yourself into some trouble with your brother, mate.
But anyway, look, let's have a look at what Dexter thinks about the chances of the Eels. Well, there we go. Look, I couldn't agree more. I think that if Melbourne Storm are the favourites, they're going to chase them all the way.
Yeah, I think Parramatta are a really good club at the moment. Plenty of depth, some exciting young talent coming through. As long as their players keep improving, and I can see no reason why they wouldn't. Yeah. I think that they really are a happy club at the moment. They've had success, as in they've made final series, but they haven't gone that extra step. I can see them taking that extra step in a couple of years' time.
Won plenty of grand finals during the 80s. A side that are yet to taste grand final success are the Sharks. Let's have a look at them.
Pomeroy will score for Cronulla. Anderson weaving, still going, gets away from everybody. Here's Williams for his second. Berg carving through a gap. He just kept on going and will go all the way.
Loz, the Sharks. Hard to get a handle on them. They have great moments. They struggle with consistency, but Bird and Gallen are their keys, I think.
Bird and Gallen last year were exceptional, in particular when they played representative football. They really stamped themselves as players of the future. Greg Bird, in his test debut, I don't think I've seen someone just grab the bit between the teeth and look like a guy that was meant to play test match football. He was outstanding against the Kiwis. So, yes, Cronulla will be under a little bit of pressure given the fact that they lost so many games last year by close margins. They're a competitive team, and that's a Ricky Stewart trait. Yep. But I just don't know whether they've got the polish to score enough points. Last year, at times, they struggled to put teams away. Yeah. Defensively, they're OK. I just got a question mark on whether they'll be able to score enough points against some of the better teams.
Let's have a look at a possible lineup there. And they've brought Blake Green to the club. We put Kamali in there. I'm always of the opinion if they're going to win a comp the next few years, I think Kamali's got to be in the 7. I am a fan. Isaac de Gois had some great moments last year. A good-looking, workman-like team. Probably, you're right, Loz, probably need a little bit of class here and there in certain positions.
Yeah, if I can just touch back on Brett Kamali with you, you've spoken about the fact that you think teams may use slide defences now with the impact with this reduction in number of interchange players. You think that may help Brett Kamali this year?
I think with the reduction in interchange, I think sides will sort of hold off their line as opposed to rushing outside in. If that is the case, I think it'll suit Kamali's game, as opposed to, I think at times, he put himself and the side under pressure against rushing defences. If they do slide, I think it will suit Kamali, and I think it will suit the Sharks. Time will tell. Let's see what the computer says.
As the regular season nears its end, the footy becomes more desperate, more frantic. As each team strives for a chance to become part of September football, finals football. And Channel 9 will again be there for exclusive coverage of the NRL Final Series. 8 teams, 8 matches on offer. A chance to be here at Telstra Stadium on Sunday, October 5 for rugby league showpiece, the NRL Grand Final.
Marshall skips away, Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Pat Richards has scored!
So after 100 years, it'll all come down to 80 minutes of winner-take-all rugby league. After 30 weeks, 200 games, there can only be one champion. Well, the premiers last year, the Melbourne Storm. No side have gone back-to-back in the last 10 years. Can the Storm? Can they?
Here's Israel Folau, ridiculous superstar! Billy the Kid will get the 6 shooters blazing. Here's Folau looking to equal the record. He will equal the record.
Well, Loz, they're just about everyone's favourites. Are they yours?
Oh, most definitely. I think that they won in a canner last year. I think they were just by far and away the most outstanding football team in the competition, and they've been that for the last 2 seasons. They've got a great coach. They've got some exciting prospects. Israel Folau last year was outstanding. Inglis will get better. Slater will get better, as will Cooper Cronk, Cameron Smith, some of the real genuine superstars of the competition. I like the way they go about dismantling opposition sides. Most teams know what the Melbourne Storm are going to throw at them, but they struggle to stop them. And I think Melbourne will go from strength to strength, and I can see them finishing minor premiers again.
Let's have a look at a possible lineup. And one thing you notice there, they are lacking, or they're losing a little bit of quality. Ben Cross is a big loss. Garrett Crossman, Clint Newton, Matty King in the centres. They're going to rely on young guys coming through as they have over the last few years.
Yeah, I think that's the case, but they've always, put people into first grade and they've never let anyone down. So Melbourne have been like the Brisbane Broncos had been in the past, where Wayne Bennett would give a youngster an opportunity where we didn't know a lot about him, but he always rose to the challenge. And I think that that's the same systems and structures that they have in place in Melbourne. Some of these young guys have just been biding their time. They know what's required, and Craig Bellamy does not put them in until they're ready. And I think that he'll unearth some good prospects. My only concern with Melbourne this year will be their mentality after winning the competition. They've got to come with the runners-up mentality and be the hunter again rather than the hunted, because to win a premiership back-to-back is always going to be tough. But it hasn't worried them in the past going out as favourites. So as long as they keep a lid on those expectations, they continue to work hard and they continue to strive for excellence, I think they're going to be extremely hard to beat.
Talking about working hard, I went down to Melbourne and spoke to the players about exactly that. First question, straight to it. Can the Storm go back-to-back?
Yeah, I think we can, mate. We've come into this pre-season with, obviously winning a premiership, and it's hard to get motivated those first couple of weeks. But I think now that we've put all that behind us, and it's good to look back every now and again and see what you've done. But in saying that, you've got to look forward, and winning premierships isn't about turning up and getting them. It's about working hard in the pre-season, working hard at the start of the year, and all that hard work seems to pay off at the end.
Billy, when people think about you, they always think about pure speed, but over the last 12 to 18 months, your ball playing, it's sort of come out of nowhere a little bit. Is that something you work on pretty hard?
Yeah, probably the last 2 years I've sort of tried to adapt to my game and, you know, put a few more different things in my bag of tricks. So, you know, it's not just a running game anymore. It's you know, if I can get up in that front line and get a few plays off me and do all that sort of stuff, I take a bit of pressure off Cameron Smith and Coop and Greggy, obviously. So, you know, we just move around, and I got shifted into hooker there a few times this year. So hopefully, yeah, you know, keep adding to those little things and maybe a few little kicks here and there. The boys don't like me kicking too much. But
Get the licence revoked.
yeah, see how we go.
Well, Cameron Smith, what about your season? Win a grand final, rep player of the year, mate, and finish by captaining Australia. How do you beat that?
Yeah, obviously, Matty, it's hard to beat. It's a great year, and you know, obviously, if I knew at the start of the year what was going to happen, I would have bought a lottery ticket. But yeah, obviously, a lot of hard work's been put into that, and I've been very fortunate to play behind a very good team, and you know, hopefully, you know, we can replicate that similar season next year.
If you had to pick just a couple of sides as the biggest threat from this far out, which is always hard, who do you think?
Mate, I think the Roosters will go really well next season. They've bought really well. Obviously, they'll be very confident with Big Willie in their team. You know, every team he plays in, everyone gets a lot of confidence from him. So I think they'll be hard to beat with a good coach as well. And I think personally the Warriors will go all right as well. They also had a bit of an up and down season last year, but I think you know, with Steve Price and Ruben Wiki getting towards the end of their careers, they'll want to do something special there.
Captaining Australia compared to winning a grand final, where do you put them next to one another?
Yeah, it's sort of hard, obviously, because of the grand final. It's a team thing. It's what you train for all year, and but you know, the captaining Australia was more a personal goal and personal achievement, and certainly, you know, I guess if you had to stack them up against each other, that'd be very similar. So. You know, they're probably two things I'll never forget.
Yeah, Cameron Smith had a great 2007. It'll take a lot to beat that year for Cameron Smith. Now, let's have a look at what Dexter says about the Storm's chances. Yeah, look, the computer picks them first, and a lot of judges do, Laurie.
Yeah, it'd be pretty difficult to disagree with them, Matty. You know, great coach, and some of their players that are superstars in the game already are in their early 20s or mid-20s. They're not as though they're getting, you know, 30 years of age. Plenty of improvement left in them.
Well, let's go from the 2007 Premiers to the Premiers in 2006, the Brisbane Broncos.
Locking out. He gets inside the 40. Hodges is away. Shades of last week.
20-metre line. Eastwood again. Around the back, and he throws an intercept. Now Hodges, will he have the pace? He's got the pace, all right.
Los Broncos, like a lot of sides, it's hard to get a handle on how they're going to go. They've got a great winning culture. Will it continue in 2008?
Difficult to see the Broncos making this year's final series. Yes, they have got a winning culture, but there's been a big number of turnover with their players.
Yeah.
Losing 5 internationals, so the players that are coming to the club will have to get used to Wayne Bennett's structure. Darren Lockyer, their most influential player, coming off a knee reconstruction. We know with players coming off knee reconstructions, their back end of the year is always better than their front end. For me, the Broncos to be successful need to win early. I don't know whether they can do that.
Yeah, you touched on it before. Let's have a look at the possible lineup about forward depth. And for me, that's a concern. To lose guys, you know, over the last couple of years, like Webke and Petro, Thorne, Berrigan's gone out of the side. Now, that's a big hole. PJ Marsh comes into the side, as does the Penrith duo Wallace and Gromit. Joel Clinton, a big year coming up for Joel Clinton. He's got to stand up.
Well, he does. I mean, I think he'd even admit himself that his last couple of years hasn't been great. Ever since they won the premiership back in 2003. So, you know, he's had a change of club, a change of culture. He's looking for success. He wants to play under Wayne Bennett. I think Wayne Bennett will probably suit Joel Clinton because I think his role will just be to get the team going forward, go over the advantage line and just play a similar role to what Sivanasiva and Webke have done over the years. But I think it'll take a while for these players to gel. And having said that, I think if they lose games and lose momentum early, they just may find themselves behind the 8 ball.
Let's have a look at what the computer thinks. Well, you never know. 11th might be a fair call. The Broncos could finish 4th. And, they're very hard to get a judge on.
Well, they are, and I think the Broncos always respond under criticism. So I think a lot of people are expecting the Broncos to miss out, but it wouldn't surprise me if they snuck into the 8.
Well, as we said before, they've lost Petro Seven-Asiva. Where do you reckon he's gone? He's a mountain man.
There's a great tackle, Jennings. Tony Pullatua with a good run. Puts his nose through the gap. Still going. That is Pullatua at his best. Here he goes. Jared Sammett. He's over the 40. Oh, good night. Here goes Jennings. You've just seen two of the best juniors out of Penrith.
Yeah, the Panthers. Look, I think they'll improve. I think they've got some very good young players coming up. Petro, it's a big buy for them. It's a good buy. It's what they need.
Well, it gives them stability and it gives them leadership, and it also will install self-belief into the players out there. I thought at times last year their body language was a real concern. It looked to me as though they were entering games and deep down they thought they weren't going to win.
Yeah.
Petro Seven-Asiva will certainly bring that winning culture and winning attitude to the club and give the players the confidence that they can compete and win every game of football. Whether they've got the quality to finish in the top 8, I don't know about that. But one thing they did do last year was unearth some exciting young players. In particular, centre 3/4 Michael Jennings was outstanding and a future superstar. So if those players can keep rapidly improving, I think Penrith are on the way up.
OK, let's have a look at a possible lineup from the Panthers. And, you know, as we said, a lot of good young players coming through. You know, Jennings is a good player. A player not in that list, Jared Sammett, who made an impact at the back half of last year. Very good young player. Great back row, Laurie.
I think their back row is probably their strength, Matty. You look at Pritchard, Waterhouse, Pullatua, Nathan Smith, these type of guys. It's powerful on the edges, you know, targeting little opposition spot players. They can create second phase play. And if they can create second phase play, it brings the likes of Jennings and Luke Lewis and Reece Wesser into the game. So, but the question mark over the Panthers will be who'll replace Craig Gower.
And the man they're looking to replace Craig Gower with is Joe Williams. I went out to Penrith and caught up with Joe, as well as the player who's been there through good times and bad, Reece Wesser. Well, Reece, you've been part of the club for a lot of years now. You've won grand finals here, been involved with some great cultures here at the Panthers. How's this one in 2008?
Yeah, well, we've been leading up with good pre-seasons, so, you know, the boys are all fit. I think this has been the hardest I've had at Penrith, so... and the crew are good. Everyone gets along, so, you know, we're looking to, you know, big things for 2008.
When people think of the Panthers at the moment, they're thinking about some great young guys coming through, none more than Michael Jennings, who had a super season last year. I mean, how's he shaping up again this year?
Yeah, he's going all right. Yeah, he's one of the fittest guys in the club. He's fast, not as fast as me though, but you know,
close.
He's getting there.
Joe, last year for the Panthers, disappointing season. How's the feeling in the camp at the moment? I imagine pretty good. You picked up guys like Petro, but a lot of great young players coming through here.
Definitely. You know, there's a real special buzz at the moment with the guys. Petro is Petro, you know, he adds another dimension both on and off the field. And the senior players have really stepped up. Your Luke Prittis, Reece Wesser, Tony Pullatua, those guys, you know, they've been great for the younger guys. And as you said, we've got, you know, a wealth of talent coming through. You only got to look at young Michael Jennings. You know, the year he had last year, he's something special, that kid, and, you know, he's training well, and everyone else is ripping and tearing too.
How's the pre-season been, Matty? I mean, from the outside in, there's a real feel of optimism about the Panthers this year.
Well, you know, we need to improve, don't we? Where we ended up last year was miles from, you know, what our expectations were and our fans' expectations. So we've worked hard. That's only part of the recipe. So between now and when we play is a vital stage for us to ensure we set our season up well.
The buy everyone's talking about has been Petro. How good has he been in the build-up to the season and the pre-season, all the hard yards that you have to do?
To be honest with you, I didn't get him in until December. He'd played a lot of footy. And I think he's done about 4,000 pre-seasons, so I figured missing a month of the pre-season would be good for him. And he's been ill this week, but his presence is massive. I know you've played with him, and anyone who's ever had anything to do with Petro has talked about that. So his actual presence, rather than what he's said and done, has had a, you know, significant influence, and I can't wait to see that presence grow.
Probably testimony to the young players you've got in your club, a guy like Reece Wesser, who's so established here, yet he's got Jared Sammett nipping at his heels. How's that all going?
You know what? one of the big benefits of last season, even though it was horrible in a lot of ways, was we blooded a lot of young guys. So our first grade ranks are far bigger. We've got a greater player base to choose from. And one of the things I can honestly say to you, I think Petro will probably sneak into the side.
Yeah, okay, big call.
Yeah, it is a big call, but other than that, I'm not prepared to go out on a limb and say, well, he's definitely going to be playing here or there.
Could be the Petro Sivan Receiver show next year.
Sivan Receiver to second receiver.
I love it. Righto, let's have a look at what the computer thinks about the Penrith Panthers' chances. ...2008. 1,000 years of rugby league we celebrate. Who would have thought 1,000 years ago a simple pilgrim boy on the other side of the world would have picked up a rock at a public stoning? And instead of hurling that rock, he ran with it. Who would have thought that simple act of innocence would one day spawn itself into the game we know, the game we love, the game of rugby league? So much to look forward to. The regular season, the big clashes, Rabbitohs versus Roosters, Mason versus Folkes, Dennis Fitzgerald versus everybody. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Brokeback Mountain. This is rugby league. City versus country. Watch as new country coach Laurie Daley scans the clubs, pubs and prisons of regional Australia to find country's finest. State of origin football. Rugby league's jewel in the crown, that special time of the year when you can violently bash someone into submission and only get community service. And finally, come October, the Rugby League World Cup. And what can only be described as an act of God, all the top sides have drawn each other in Pool A. But don't worry, all the mediocre sides aren't forgotten as we celebrate them right across the country. Such as when the Fiji side arrive and all the public schools celebrate Carver Day, when they all drink their favourite hallucinogenic drink. And when the Papua New Guinean side arrives, well, we give the green light to Beetle Nut Day. As they say in Port Moresby, if you don't chew the beetle, you're a nut. Rugby League in 2008. It's been 1,000 great years. Let's hope it's as great in the next 1,000. Goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, Reg Reagan. Now, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, they qualified for the finals for the first time in 20 years in 2007. Can they improve in 2008?
Inside ball. Peachy's looking for a runner. Finds Irvine. That is absolute magic.
Laurie, it looks to be a club on the up and up and up. Exciting times for the Red and Groons.
Yeah, well, they made their first finals appearances last year for the first time in 20 years, which is a great achievement for them. I think they'll be better for that experience. I think that they've got a lot more belief in the coaching systems that Jason Taylor's put in place. And I also think that they'll improve. Some of their youngsters will just naturally improve. I think at times last year they were very circumspect with the football. Yeah. They couldn't score points, but I think that would be an area that they would have addressed and they'd be looking to improve. Defensively, though, they're one of the better teams in the competition. So they need to work hard on that side of their game, and if they can do that, I think South Sydney are definite finals contenders.
Let's have a look at a possible lineup, and of course, look, I mean, David Kidwell, he's going to be there for the whole campaign, fingers crossed, and if he is, he's going to give him a huge boost. Asatasi, on the young players, Talanoa, he'll improve a lot from last year. Nathan Merritt, an important player. Benny Rogers at 5'8". Last few games, he really started to flourish.
He did, and I think he was more confident given the fact that he was given an opportunity to stay in that 6 jersey for an extended period. I think South Sydney, out of any other team last year, had instability in their key positions. You talk about your 1, your 7, your 9 and your 6. They continually chopped and changed, so I think they'd be a lot further advanced this year than what they were in the past. I think Jason Taylor would have a better idea who is going to start in those positions. They'll be a lot more confident with those players in those positions, and I think good times are ahead for South Sydney. And in the off-season, I caught up with Dean Witters and their coach, Jason Taylor, and Jason Taylor was telling me how he thinks his team will improve in 2008. JT, second year in the job. Obviously, you're far better placed this time around than what you were compared to last season.
Yeah, Laurie, it's amazing, when I sort of think back to where we were this time last year. It's a bit scary, really, to think, and just 12 months under the belt for everybody. you know, for the players to get to know me, for me to get to know the players, and not just myself, but the rest of the staff. You know, all of our strength and conditioning staff are new. Physio was new. We're all new.
Last year, defensively, you were as good as any team in the competition, but at times you did struggle to put points on the board.
We tried later in the year, you know, when the defence was good, we tried hard to get it going, but it's just hard to get stuff happening, you know, week to week. You know, the weeks are short and you have a few injuries here and there and blokes can't train and stuff, and we found it hard. But where we are now, in relation to our offence right now, you know, it's miles ahead of where we were at any stage throughout 2007.
We've definitely put a lot more time compared to what we did this time last year into our attack and getting those little skills right of just passing at the right time, running the right lines, and the timing of it all. You know, with defence these days, the way they're up and in and they read out the back plays and all those sort of things, the timing of passes and runners is crucial. We go out there and we call a training drill now, and everyone knows where they're doing, what they're doing, and where they've got to be in 5 seconds. Where last year we had to go through and explain everything all the time. So, but JT he's developed as a coach and gained in strengths and knowledge and all those sort of things. So he's even a better, you know, coach than what he was 12 months ago. And you know, we just got to put it together on the field like every club has got to do next year, and it's going to be exciting build-up.
If they finish 7th, that is improvement. And yeah, Laurie, I think they're probably capable of anything, really. I think, you know, it's important for their halves and even a player like John Sutton to stand up this year.
I thought he was good towards the back end of the year, John Sutton. I think that Craig Wing will be a great buy for them. Experienced player, played at the highest level, won premierships. So I think he is a key buy for the South Sydney team. But I'm excited about some of the young prospects. I mean, Talanoa, we saw him at the back end of last year, capable of doing anything. Nathan Merritt, a real try-scoring machine. So they've got plenty of experience. They've got some talent to be able to score points this season. And I think if they can score points, they'll trouble a lot of the top sides.
All right, let's go to a side who I think will trouble a lot of teams. They're a real powerhouse, the North Queensland Cowboys.
Jonathan Thurston! For Thurston, kick for himself. He breaks through the line, he gets the ring-gather. He gives the ball back on the inside. Brilliant stuff. Oh, that is a brilliant try.
Laurie, best player in the game in Thurston, and his combination with a bloke who probably is in the top 3 players in the game in Matty Bowen. Just on those 2 players alone, they're hard to stop.
Yeah, to me, the Cowboys have all the boxes ticked. You talk about Bowen and Thurston. Those 2 guys in particular have a major influence on the outcomes of games these days. Yep. And I think they realise that, and they're so important to this Cowboys team. At the back end of the season, the Cowboys were under strength, undermanned, in particular with their forward pack. But those 2 guys just really stood up and were able to direct the team around, and when the big plays were required, they came up with it. And I think they just generated confidence throughout this whole football team. I can see them being a lot more competitive next year.
They're almost the opposite of South Sydney. South had great defence and struggled in attack. It was vice versa at times. The Cowboys really struggled with their defence. Let's have a look at their possible lineup. Laurie, and look, it's a strong side. Ashley Graham, I mean, his try scoring was brilliant through the year. Travis Burns is going to be a fantastic buy for the Cowboys.
Well, they've got creativity, they've got plenty of speed, they've got a hard-working forward pack. Aaron Payne, probably underrated in the hooking position. But you can't get away from the fact that Jonathan Thurston and Matt Bowen are 2 of the better players in the competition. So I think Travis Burns will be a tremendous buy for the Cowboys and a good foil for Jonathan Thurston. He's a competitor. You know, on the edge of the ruck, he's only a tiny man, but he does everything in his power to win games of football. Yep, and I think that attitude will really rub off on the rest of the players.
Let's have a look at their predicted finish. Yeah, I think everybody agrees they're at least a top 4 side for this year, the Cowboys. The NRL season.
There it goes. He's got it. He's got it.
The Trans-Tasman Test.
Lockett scores.
State of Origin.
Let's play Origin football. What a try. What a try. Oh, goes himself and gets it.
The NRL Final Series.
He gets it to Williamson. He scores a try. Langley into the grand final. Melbourne have won their 2nd grand final.
And the Rugby League World Cup.
Brent Tate from the corner! Oh, my goodness!
All about
best matches, all the greatest moments, all on one station.
So join us in 2008. Rugby League right here on Channel 9. Now a side who's had all sorts of dramas in the off-season, but they're good under adversity. That's the Canterbury Bulldogs.
Patton gets his second try. Luke Patton, the general.
Oh dear. Holds onto it long now, kicks out for Phelps. He's unmarked. Phelps got catch. Flick pass for Williams. Sonny Bill has the W.
Well, Loz, no O'Mealy, no Mason, no Brent Sherwin. To look at it, you think, yeah, this is a side that may struggle a little bit, but you talk about winning cultures, particularly in adverse situations, you talk about the Bulldogs.
They've always responded when their backs have been against the walls in the past 20, 30 years, the Bulldogs. I can see it happening as long as they keep their best possible players on the field. Now, at the end of last year, there was a lot of talk about changing their structure and changing their systems in the way that they play.
Yep.
So I think this could be a godsend for the Bulldogs, not having O'Mealy, Mason and Sherwin around, given the fact that it's easy to change a different style with younger players.
So it'll force a change.
It will force a change. They can't rely on the power game and intimidating people. They've got to go out and use their skills more. And I think they've got tremendous skill in this football side, but I think at times last year they didn't show us that because they based their game on other areas.
Let's have a look at a possible lineup here for the Bulldogs. Fantastic back row. Cooper Ritz's really come to his own last year. The halves, that's going to be a big question. We've got Ben Roberts penciled in there, but they're talking about young Aaron Groom from Manly and a young Queenslander, young Barber, who they got big raps on. It's possible that he may get a start. You know, like every side you touch on, Laurie, depth is a big thing with the Dogs.
Yeah, I think you're right, Matty. I think that the Bulldogs, to have any hope, need to start early and need to have a decent run with injuries. I also think they need to keep their back row on the field because their back row is one of their strengths. Sonny Bill Williams, Andrew Ryan and Rennie Matua all played for their country and all exceptional men.
Well, I caught up with a few of the Bulldogs during the off-season, including their captain, Bob Ryan. Well, Bob Cat, been a pretty uneventful off-season for you, Blakes. Not much going on.
Yeah, mate, nothing normally goes on for us, so it's all under the carpet now. It's all done. We've been training hard and ripping in. It's good.
If you believe everything you hear, you'd say, oh, the Bulldogs are in turmoil. But you blokes, oftentimes, under adversity, do your best. Funny enough.
Yeah, it was probably a bit disappointing the way it all went down, I guess, but that sort of happened pretty much all before we started back at training. So since we've been back, all the young guys have just been ripping in. They know there's an opportunity there to play first grade, and training has been great. I haven't sort of done a pre-season since 2003, so I haven't been around either, so it's been good for me.
I think people are going to write us off a little bit, which suits us perfectly. We'll probably go in for the first time in a few seasons with a little bit less pressure. And as I said, I think we'll just sort of maybe come under the radar a little bit. And I know if we keep working hard that, we can work away. And as I said, the goal is to win it. We're not just there to sort of say, yeah, make the numbers up.
Mate, Aaron Broom, young bloke they brought from Manly. Big things expected. You know, a lot's going to be dependent on who can fill Shifty's role. Brent Sherwin, of course, you've lost as well.
Yeah, well, it's a big loss for us, but that's why we've got Joey Johns here helping us out and trying to help a few of the halves out. And I guess it's whoever puts their hand up for that position will get it. There's a few options there, so I guess coming into the season with the trials and early on, someone needs to put their hand up.
Okay, the computer says 9th. Loz, I think they're going to sneak into the 8. I can see them around 6th or 7th, around that region.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'd like to see this new style that they've been speaking about. And I'd also like to see how some of their other players step up into a leadership role. Lost 3 key leaders, Sherwin, O'Mealy and Mason, so other people need to take on board that responsibility. But I think they also need to share the responsibility, not just leave it up to 1 or 2. 17 players who participate week in, week out, all share it.
It's classic match time again, and this one involves the Bulldogs. In a season marred by salary cap rorts, Bulldogs fans still fondly remember one sunny afternoon in 2002. 3 weeks before the scandal would rock the club, the Dogs travelled to Newcastle, looking for their 16th consecutive victory for the season. But on this day, nothing was going their way.
Johns has scored.
Out for Johns again. He puts the kick in. That's a try.
By half-time, the Andrew Johns-led Knights had amassed an incredible 19 unanswered points. But it was a different Bulldogs team that took the field in the second half. Braithen Astor took charge, and soon his side had reduced Newcastle's lead to just 5 points.
Out from the line. Nasta with the big kick. They've isolated Voss. He came down on his back. It's a try.
Then, with less than 1 minute remaining, Bulldogs fullback Luke Patton crashes over in the corner, leaving Hazem El Masri with the toughest kick of his NRL career.
El Masri trailing by 1 to win it. He's got it away. It has got there. He has kicked it. The flags are in the air. So are the Canterbury Bulldogs. They have won it.
Into the sun and against the odds. El Masri nails it, sealing a remarkable come-from-behind win for the Blue and Whites. 22 points to 21.
One more time.
Last year was a great year for the Manly Seagulls. Made the grand final, unfortunately didn't win it. Can they improve in 2008?
Watch him run! Watch Brett Stewart run!
Oh, and another big one from that eye. Good tackle, Messi.
They won't catch him. The profound freak is in again.
Yeah, lost Manly. Lost some good players, namely Burns and Monahan. But I think they'll be a top 4 side at least again.
Yeah, I can see them challenging again for this year's title. Unfortunately for Manly, they saved their worst performance for last. I think that'll be a motivating factor for them in the off-season. I think they'll be hungry for success. They've been there. And I think Des Hasler really would have learned a lot from that experience.
Let's have a look at the possible lineup. And again, as you can see, the back row is going to be the key from Watmo, Glenn Stewart. We've got Beaver penciled in there, Beaver. But could be Luke Williamson had a great year. Matty Orford, a big year for the Ox. A grand final day wasn't a happy one for him. But there's a Blues jersey up for grabs. I mean, he's a player that could fill that slot if he's good at club level.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's certainly got the capabilities of playing State of Origin football. I think at times last year he proved that he could take that next step. You mentioned the fact that he didn't have a great game in the grand final, but I think most of the Manly players were probably able to say the same thing about them. But I think he's really improved as a player. I think they would have learnt a lot out of that game. I think they tried to intimidate Melbourne in that grand final. I don't think it worked. I think they should have just come out and tried to play the type of football that they'd been successful with leading up to the GF. But that's something that you learn. They always have this theory about you need to lose one to win one. Well, that may be the case for Manly.
And on the grand final, when you talk about blokes who wouldn't have a great memory of it, was Brett Stewart. And you went out and caught up with him, Loz?
I did, and this is what he had to say.
He gets it away.
Not a great deal, actually. The second half's, forgotten about it. I can't remember anything there. But, the first half was, a great experience. And, I think the week leading up to it as well was an awesome experience. And it'd be great to experience the same thing this year.
But just after that, you were selected to play for your country. I mean, that must have been the greatest thrill you've had in the game so far.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a dream of mine to put on the green and gold and, also the sky blue this year as well. So it was a pretty big year for myself. But I think now the important thing is to back it up with another big year.
Now, Melbourne Storm won the competition last year and everyone thought that they were the side to beat and they won the competition. Everyone's expecting them to be the side to beat again this year.
Yep.
What do Manly have to do to catch up with them? Are
Mate,
you far away?
That's a good question. No, not at all. We lost a couple of players in Mick Monahan and Chris Hicks, but we've got a couple of young guys coming through in Matt Ballin and Michael Barney, which, I think, they're going to fill their shoes pretty well. But I think our biggest key is our defence. That's something that Desi works hard on us with, and this pre-season's been exactly the same. Even though it's been 4 weeks, he's trying to drill our defence mechanisms already. So, it's going to be hard to stop teams like that. But our attack sort of takes care of itself, and like I said, our biggest key is going to be our defence.
Yeah, good on you, Brett. Thanks for your time, mate. Let's see what the computer thinks about the Manly Seagulls' chances. Yeah, the computer's come up with third spot. I think everybody sees them up in that top tier. Laurie?
I think so. I would think that at some stage throughout the year they'll challenge for the minor premiership. I wouldn't surprise me at all if they finished first, but I definitely see them finishing in the top 4. And if they don't finish in the top 4, I think they've underachieved.
It'll be a disappointing year. Now, a side who I think are on the up and up are the Green Machine for the Canberra Raiders.
There you go, the Raiders are away. Great footwork to get inside. Young West.
Great try.
Back for the corner.
Here's Carney trying to link up with support. Best then gets the pass on the outside. Then it comes back over the top to Carney from Howell.
Well, Loz, the Raiders, a team close to your heart. Look, some people think they might come last. My gut feel, I think they're going to make the 8. I think they're a great young side. They're well coached. And they've got a home ground that's hard to win at.
Well, I think you've touched on it there, Matty. The home ground advantage to Canberra in the middle of winter is second to none. They win, 7 or 8 games throughout the year. If they can jag a couple away from home, all of a sudden they're out of that wooden spoon territory.
OK, let's have a look at the possible lineup. And look, Joel Monahan's going to be a really good buy from a lot of experience there. Look, when I look at that, Loz, the bloke who stands out for mine is the number 6, Todd Carney. I think it's his time, Laurie. I spoke about Matty Orford being a possible Origin player. Carney, if he has a great start to the season, he'll come to calculations.
Yeah, amazing you say about your time. And through everyone's football career, there's a defining moment in your career, and I think this year will be it for Todd Carney. He's been in the first grade squad now for 3 or 4 years. I think this is the time for him to stand up and take on a leadership role. I think if he does that and earns the confidence of his teammates, I think he's capable of leading the Raiders into the finals.
Well, let's see if they're going to be in the finals by way of the computer. Oh, the computer. It's a genius, Laurie. Got it in 8th spot. We picked up the computer from SBS. They actually threw them out. What about that?
At the spare parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
They lift up the trophy. The trophy of supremacy.
In the last 7 years, the NRL has had 7 different premiers. So who's going to be in the game's centenary season? The long road to the grand final begins here at Telstra Stadium with a clash between 2 of the game's foundation clubs.
He's over the line, he scores. Oh!
1,000 kilometres north, the new boys of the NRL kick off their season at a brand new home. Friday night football will again be the focus of all NRL fans as Channel 9 kickstarts your weekend with 2 games beginning live at 7:30. The action continues with Sunday football rounding out your weekend with the match of the day.
Yeah, here goes Grove down the right side. Menzies for the line. Oh, boy, oh, boy.
26 rounds, 16 teams, and there can only be one winner.
That is as good as you will see anywhere in the National Rugby League.
Now, a side who's picked up some big-name players during the off-season. Let's see if they can improve. It's Freddie Fittler's Roosters.
Anasta sprints. Pierce now puts a grubber in. Minicello, what speed!
And coming through, Perrott will race away and score.
Anasta showing it, going through the hole. What a game he's having!
Yeah, disappointing year last year, or start to the year. Fittler took over and incredibly nearly got into the finals. O'Mealy and Mason, geez, it just balances the pack, gives it that little bit of something special.
I think at the back end of last year, with the new coach taking over, there was no expectation. In the off-season, they've recruited quite heavily. The expectation will be on from round 1.
Yep.
They need results, and they're a club that expect results. I think the Roosters are one of those teams that if they get on a bit of a roll, they're capable of competing with most clubs in the competition. I like the look of their forward pack. I think it's a powerful team. Mitchell Pearce and Anasta will form a good combination. But for me, one of the keys to the Roosters is not those players that they've recruited, and it's not their halves. It's Anthony Minicello at the back of the field.
Yeah,
if Anthony Minicello can recapture the form he had a couple of seasons ago, I think he could lead the Roosters into the final series.
Let's have a look at a possible lineup there. And look, a guy that we haven't spoken about a lot when in terms of purchases, he's been overshadowed by O'Mealy and Mason, has been Orbison. I think he's an international footballer of the future. He's a Badiris-type player. But you touched on Mitchell Pearce before, and without a doubt, there's no doubt the halfback takes ownership of wins and losses, a lot of responsibility. And I went out to Sydney Roosters training, caught up with Mitchell.
Yeah, I feel miles ahead of what I was last year. I didn't do much off season last year. I had the schoolboys tour and then came back. I put a lot more weight on this year and I feel a lot more confident with my footy and probably bossing the team around and just knowing what to do on different parts of the field. I'm not fully there yet, but I feel a lot better than I was last year.
He's had a good off-season. He's grown a little bit. He's got a little bit bigger and put on some kilograms. But maybe we did some testing and then he wins all the testing, whether it's speed, agility, passing, kicking. He just loves his footy. He's given himself every chance to play good this year. So there's good enough forwards there to go forward for him too. So,
Mate, the influence of Mason, what's he brought to the club?
Mate, the one thing I think when you visually look at the bloke, he's just so big. So straight away, there's definitely presence there and just experience. He's played for Australia, Clive Churchill, but he's done all big things. So we've just got to try to get him back to those, motivate him, get back to those days.
Well, Willie Mason, not much happened with you in the off-season, mate. Pretty quiet.
It was pretty quiet, nothing much happened. Just sort of try to fly under the radar. Now I'm here with the Roosters, mate, having the ball.
Mate, put all that behind you. How's things at the Roosters, mate? You come from a really strong culture at the Bulldogs. Won premierships, very tight-knit bunch of boys. How do you find it here at the Roosters?
Yeah, well, it is a different culture shock. Being in one club, you probably found it with the Knights. Everyone's a tight-knit, bunch of blokes. You just know it's like you're just going home every day, and then you get a change. It's just like it's like a holiday, mate. Getting to know new faces, new personalities, new characters. Them getting to know me. It's been fun the last 4 weeks. I've really enjoyed it. Enjoyed my time under Freddie. He doesn't put a levelling on everybody. He knows there's different personalities. I'm different. Minnie's different. Fitzy's different. we're all different people, mate. And he understands me, and I understand, him. So we get along good.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. Larger-than-life character. It's a pretty quiet off-season. Let's see what the computer's got to say about the Roosters. Oh, computer's on fire. 6, I think a lot of people would agree with that. I think they're going to be around that 4th, 5th, 6th spot. That'd be a good season for the Roosters. Now, a side who was looking to improve on last year, the 2005 premiers, the West Tigers.
Go, Benji, go! The Tigers fans cheer. Lawrence gets over the 20. Look out. This kid can run.
Marshall got a couple of kicks on it. What a pickup!
Lawrence is inside the 30. Back him home. Oh, he is a sensation.
What a super talent. Laurie, the Tigers, people have mixed opinion on how they're going to go. A lot depends on Farron. Of course, Benji Marshall, a player that everybody's got their fingers crossed for as far as those shoulder injuries are concerned.
Yeah, I think Benji is obviously the key for the West Tigers next year. They've missed him, no doubt about it. They've got some talented players right across their roster, and they play an exciting brand of football.
Don't they?
They use the footy, and when their completion rate's high, actually, even when their completion rate's not high, because they ask so many questions, they actually trouble a lot of defences. But sometimes they just don't have that same attitude they have with the football or respect to what they show at times in the defence department. Sometimes they lack plenty of points, and if they don't get that right, I can see them really struggling.
Right, let's look at the possible lineup, and you can't underestimate the effect after 2005. Some of the players that left the club, in particular LaFranchi in the back row and Scott Prince, but they're starting to rebuild. Matthew Head, who's a natural halfback, in the centres, Dean Collis, Chris Lawrence. They've picked up some good players and some good young players coming through, Laurie.
Yeah, Matty Head, if he can recapture the form of a couple of seasons ago, will really give the Tigers plenty of direction around the field and just allow Marshall to bob up wherever he wants to. I'm just fingers crossed that Benji Marshall gets through a whole year of football. If he can get through a whole year of football, the impact that he'll have on the Tigers will be a massive, massive one.
Yeah, I like Matty Head. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Now, talking about Benji Marshall, we sent the cameras out to Benji, who caught up with some of the Tigers boys.
Well, we're here at West Tigers training with current up-and-coming star of the West Tigers, Chris Lawrence. Chris, off-season training, how's it been going?
Yeah, it's been pretty tough so far. It's, done a bit of variety of training, done a few triathlons, Ironmans, so it's been tough, but it's been fun.
Oh, that's good. A lot of coaches are pretty tough during the off-season, so how's Shinzy been this year?
Yeah, he's been pretty good. He loves his skill work. We've been doing a lot of skills, so hopefully next year will be a very skillful side.
Well, here he is, the man everyone came to watch in 2007. Almost got the Daley end, but just missed out. Robbie, how's off-season training going?
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, it's been good, pretty tough. A lot more intense this year than probably the past couple of years, so hopefully that'll put us in good stead for next year.
Yeah, we've signed a couple of new blokes. How are they fitting in?
Yeah, pretty well. Corey Payne, he's going to add a bit of starch to our pack, and Nick Youngquist out in the flank, he'll give us a bit more depth as well. So, and Matty Head hopefully will come good, and injury-free season, and he's a great halfback when he's fully fit.
Well, it'd be good for us this year to have blokes like Benji Marshall back, Brett Hodgson back. How do you think our combinations are going to go this year?
Yeah, I missed you on the field last year, so
thanks, man.
You've done your rehab and you're looking fit, so hopefully, fingers crossed, you get on the field regularly this year, along with Hodjo, and we'll get back to our best like we were in 05.
And lastly, mate, what are your goals for 2008?
Mate, I think first and foremost, just to get back playing semi-final footy. It's pretty disappointing to have won a comp in 05 and then to have missed out on the semis 2 years in a row. So hopefully make the semis, and then if the individual honours come after that, well, so be it.
Well, there you go, folks. 2008 West Tigers, hear us roar. Rah!
Yeah, good on you, Benji. Real character of the game, and good luck for 2008. Let's see what the computer thinks about the Tigers' chances. Oh, they won't be laughing about that. The computer. 14th, Laurie?
I think the computer's got it wrong. I can see the Tigers finishing a little further up than 14th.
In 2008, 9 countries travelled to our shores to take on defending champions Australia in the Rugby League World Cup. The best players right on our doorstep doing battle for a chance to be crowned world champions.
What a moment!
And once again, you'll know where you see it, right here.
Laurie, the World Cup, of course, at the end of the year, Australia won in 2000. We saw the demolition job that Australia did in New Zealand with new young players coming into the side, Folau, Hayne, etc. Can anyone get near the Aussies?
I think they can, but I think it's there for Australia to lose. I think the only way Australia will lose if they don't turn up with the right mentality.
Don't turn up at all.
Yeah. Well, look, you look at some of the players that were missing in last year's games against the Kiwis, and they had some of the superstars missing. Given the fact that we did unearth some, exciting, talent playing for Australia, the Cooper Cronks and the Israel Folau's and Greg Birds, we're going to have plenty of depth. The other countries need to bring their best players, have them fit, have them at their peak. If they can do that, well, I'll give Australia a run for their money. I think it'll be a good competition, but you just can't see Australia lose.
The depth. Laurie, will there ever be a day, could it ever be acceptable that one day we see Australia versus Australia A in rugby league? Seriously, we've seen it in the cricket.
No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone would support it, to be honest with you. I just don't think that we should go down the track. We're in the business of trying to encourage other countries to play our great game. They're doing a fantastic job at the moment. In the future, I can see England and I can see New Zealand in particular really challenging us, but at the moment, I just don't know whether they're up to our standard at this stage.
And of course, you're going to see the Rugby League World Cup on Channel 9. It all starts next Friday night. The Roosters versus the Rabbitohs. The Titans up against the Cowboys at Skills Stadium. You're going to see that on Channel 9. But before that, on Thursday, Laurie, your debut on the Footy Show, 9:30, live at the Channel 9 studios. Looking forward to it?
Mate, I'm excited, but I'm apprehensive because I don't know what you blokes have got in store for me.
Mate, you got nothing to worry about. Just ask Mario. Things will be fine. Look, I hope you enjoyed the season preview. We can't wait for next Friday night to kick this season off. Just as a little taster of what's in store, here's what happened in 2007.
We're underway. 2007 is on its way. It's gone over towards Folau. Look at him go up. Look at the scoreboard. This is the first try coming up. They're over the line. South Sydney are jumping. South Sydney jumping for joy.
For me, there was no greater honour than to run out in front of this crowd, and thanks for everything.
Israel Folau at full stretch. Marshall, he's pressed the green button. Brilliant play for Inu. Sonny Bill, SBW. Sonny Bill has scored. Out to Stewart, the fullback, looking for another.
Runs across, dumps it off inside, takes a charge at them. To win an extra time, he's done it.
They're a goes.